So to start with the Toyota project, that incorporated the 79 series, as I said. So we started off with looking at all the variables that we could use, both the dual cab, the single cab. We also looked at the actual 200 series and thought, well, that's probably not going to be around too much longer. Let's wait. So let's start on the 79 series. We wanted to make it compact but spacious, and that's a really hard thing to do. So that's why we chose for the bed to go over the top. We built our molds so that it would fit a dual cab, and then once finished those molds and we pulled them and looked at the actual shapes and what we were left with, thought that, you know, I didn't think we'd have to make two different sizes. I thought we'd get away with the extended nose on the single cab, which would also, of course, fit the dual cab, and that's proven to be quite popular with everybody. Also, the reality is that not only does it give you more space, but you're driving in shade all day, and obviously there your bed doesn't have to be made up because it's made up all the time. Weight's a big consideration with the 79 series. We chose to go full GVM and keep it in a car license. For us to do that, we had to use parabolic suspension at the back, and we did this for weight and also for handling. We've only just finalised the suspension, and it's terrific. We've used a 5-leaf parabolic, specially built for us, with Bilstein shocks, which we turned up a little bit further than the normal ones, the normal 3-ton shocks, and that has made the on-road handling really nice. It'll probably still need some tweaks over time, but because we've got shocks that we can revalve, it allows us to be able to modify them as we go. The front shocks are Bilstein shocks, and the springs are King springs, and we've given it about a 65mm lift, and we're running it on 33-inch tyres. The rims were a really big struggle for us. Nobody had any numbers on those Toyota rims, so we decided that we would get them tested ourselves, and that became a mission in itself. We ended up, I think, sending 12 rims overseas, and not all at once, and slowly failing the test, bang, until we gave up and said, look, those rims just aren't going to cut it. It would have been nice to leave them on the standard rims, but it wasn't to be. So anyway, moving up into the body, we did some different things. We used different foams, thinner foams, and we tried to lighten it up as much as we could. We also put some aluminium stiffeners through the walls to keep that peak flexible but still extremely strong, and that seems to have worked well. The roof was quite different in that we had to manufacture a completely different style of roof with panels, similar to what they do in boats, where they are removable panels. We've done it once before to varying satisfaction, but this time we refined it a little bit more, and with removable panels now, we can get access to everything really easily. We used a conduit channel through the whole roof, so you can actually expose everything, run new cabling really easily, and put things wherever you need them. The fit out of the vehicle became quite difficult because of the size and trying to fit everything we wanted in there. We knew we needed the toilet, we knew we needed the walk-through, and it turned out fairly good. It is difficult to build though, much more difficult than one of our expedition vehicles. So time will tell whether we have to refine that any, but it has turned out great, and practically it works really well. So it may be something we just have to live with. We were able to keep the 122-litre fridge in the vehicle. I would have liked to have moved it forward down the vehicle, but to get it sort of midships, but it wasn't. There was no way we were going to be able to do that with the way the bed was and the seating arrangement. So the fridge had to stay as far forward as we could, but still ended up sort of over the wheel, which obviously, as you know, fridges you try to move forward as much as you can away from the bounce of the back. but you know, I think overall it's worked out quite well. The only drawers we have in that are 3.5, and the rest are pigeonholes. Now we did that for weight. The pigeonholes, whilst they're much bigger than the drawers could ever be, they are so much lighter. So we needed to do that in order to keep our tear down. So our tear came in at about, depending on option, somewhere between 3.3 and 3.780 or 3.750. So yeah, between 3 and 3.8, and then on top of that, you've got 500 litres of fluid, or sorry, 420 kilos of fluid. So, you know, if you down spec one at 3.3 and you put 400 kilos out of fluid in there, you still get plenty of headspace for your gear and yourself and everything. So that was the Toyota, and we probably spent that whole thing from start to finish was less than 12 months. And of course, now we have the molds and we're ready to go on full production. So we've got about 4 of those on the go at the moment, 3 or 4 at the go. The Iveco 7. So the Iveco 7 was a project we started in a 7 tonne, that is, the Iveco 7 tonne. So Euro 6, but we call it 7 tonne. And the old ones were what we called a 6 tonne. We started that project we started it probably in 18, but officially we kind of started it around middle of 2019. So that's nearly a year and a half working on that. And that was to build the next level and version of what we've been doing for so long. The Iveco platform has been spectacular for us, and working with Iveco has been great. They give us a lot of feedback and support along the way. They, like every other company, encounter issues, and as far as we're concerned, they work through them as good as anyone, if not better, I would say. Certainly with any issues they have, they seem to do their best at trying to sort them out, and certainly sort them out to the customer's benefit. So starting with the springs at the back, like every company that builds a cab chassis, they build the spring system to handle very light weights right through to their full GVM. So the full GVM of that is 7 tonne. Lightest it could be would probably be around 3.5 tonnes, say, with a tray on it. So they've had to manufacture a spring set that allows them full weight and no weight. Very hard to do, and they do a reasonable job of that. What we're building is a body that has pretty much full weight on there all the time. So we sit at, say, our tear on that 7 tonne is about 4.8. So then once you put 900 litres of fluid on board, so, and a bit of gear, so that's not a tonne. So you're sitting at about 6 tonne all the time, maybe a little bit more with options. So then we have to build the springs to match that weight. Now everyone says, oh, well, you know, they should do that to a 7 tonne truck. That's not how it works, unfortunately. I don't know any truck or vehicle we work on where the springs don't need some work, and that is because they're building vehicles to handle very low weights right through to very high weights. So the spring set we chose on, I had some parabolics designed overseas in Europe. We had them manufactured, air freighted in here. And then what we do is we take their spring set out, we add one of our leaves, we recamber their springs, and we reset the height. So what that does is it gives us a slightly higher rate, but also gives us a far greater carrying capacity, a fixed carrying capacity. So that allows us to sit at 6 to 7 tonne all day long, and those springs will be great. So we haven't lost any droop or anything the way we did it, because we had as I said, parabolics manufactured to sit in with that. Fortunately, the guys in Europe that designed them for us were able to go and look at a local 7 tonne and design exactly. So no matter what drawings we gave them, and we gave them plenty, they needed to go and look at a set. So good on you, Paul. Thanks for that. He did a great job. He does a lot of the design work for parabolics around the world. So moving on from the springs, the chassis itself's fine. It's a slightly larger chassis than the old 5.5, 6 tonne chassis. It was actually more challenging to build on that chassis being a different shape, a different ladder arrangement, and we found a fair bit of difficulty trying to just move what we were doing back over to that. The vehicle itself is extremely advanced. Sorry, the vehicle itself has moved forward leaps and bounds from the last one, and that's not to say there was anything wrong with the last one. The last one was fabulous, but the uh, the new one is just built and has been made to, I suppose, answer all those questions that everybody wanted. Things like, you know, we want bigger transfer case, we want an automatic, we want bigger drive line, we want, you know, and with that, you know, bigger diffs, bigger brakes. So they've come in with all of that. They've come in with the automatic, which is, you know, it shifts as well as a Land Cruiser. It really does. And for a 7-ton truck, that's incredible. It comes in with the bigger transfer case, which is air shifted as opposed to air over hydraulics before. It's coming with bigger drive line, which then obviously means you've got bigger diffs. The diffs are substantially bigger and obviously heavier. And then you've got the vented discs all the way around. So you've got bigger discs and they're vented, which they stop really, really well now. So yeah, we didn't have to do too much there. The cab itself is the same as the previous vehicle, the previous model, and we know that stands up really well. They've done a lot of work around the bumper bar. We had from Euro 5 to Euro 6 to the now 7-ton, they seem to have been improving things that have had issues. So I don't know how they get onto it so well, but they seem to know what's, I'll use the word failing, but that's probably not the right word, things that need tweaking. They seem to be pretty good at doing that, and they've moved those things along even with this new one. So that's really good. And so, as I said, they've changed the seats a little bit, but we pull the seats apart, we re-sculpture them, and we cover them in leather. But the reason we have to do that, people ask, why do you have to re-sculpture them? A typical transport seat is a lot flatter. That's so people, couriers and truck drivers can jump in and out all day long, you know, do 60 deliveries a day. Our guys are sitting in that seat for a lot longer periods, so therefore we need to adjust the bucket and adjust the lumbar so that you get a much, much more comfortable ride over longer periods of time. It doesn't make it that much more difficult to get in or out, but it's just that little bit that makes it more comfortable. So we do that, and then obviously that same leather seat goes right through the whole cab. In the 79 series that we just did, we've used kangaroo leather, which was we kind of liked the idea of, you know, maybe doing something a bit more Australian with that Toyota 79 series, but limited colours. I think we only get a choice of about 7 or 8 colours, whereas with the Expedition vehicles using the leathers that we use, we get up to 200 colours of leather, and then the bench tops, we give them another 60 colours of different bench tops and things like that. So the rest of the engineering with the 7-ton was things like the solar we've changed. We've continued with our big lithium batteries. They've been fabulous. Still having a really good run with those. No issues to speak of. So the electrical system hasn't really changed, apart from we just keep, you know, edging it up each time, making it a bit better. Garmin have been working on, I think, this project for about 3 years. Garmin this is their second real reincarnation of this product, and this is special. It is exactly what we need. So how we do it is we have 3 screens in the vehicle. The screens come off the vehicle, and you can use them just as an iPad, and you can then use them to sit in bed and operate all your controls. You can have this one set on, say, switching systems, so we can go in and switch all of our lights, appliances, whatnot. We also have all of our temperatures down here, including our compressor pressure. And then while that one's doing that, you can come down to this screen and you can, say, go to your mapping system. You know, people see it as a bit of complexity, but it's actually about ease. And the fact that we have those screens in the front and the back allow for people to, you know, operate the camper and the cab quite seamlessly. And of course, we have the big override system, which incorporates about 20 overrides. And, you know, if it gets used, that's fine. It has some other uses as well, other than just overrides. But in general, that's fine. The rest of the vehicle itself, the fiberglass and whatnot, has remained fairly much the same, with the exception is we've gone to the 100mm wider camper bodies. So what that's allowed for is more room in the storage locker. It also allows for a larger bed, and just a little bit more room to pass through the hallway walkway area. One of the things we've done with the new 360 is we've changed the internal furniture so as not to lose anything, but actually increase the bed by 100mm. So instead of having a true double-sized bed, we've now gone between a double and a queen. And a queen, I think, is 1580. We're now 1480 in the 360s, and in the 440s you get a full-size queen. So I think that'll probably maybe steer a few more people to the 360 rather than the 440. I do believe a lot of people bought the 440 because of the bigger bed, but the 360 has, you know, a reasonably big bed in it now, so that might help. Another thing that we did with some help with the custom, we always get help from our customers. They always have great ideas, which we pinch all the time. One of them was Pete from Melbourne, came up with a roof pod system. So we've now put a pod in the roof which sits over the bed. It's equal to about 3 drawers, and you can still sleep under it. So it's a fabulous addition to our vehicles and allows for the extra storage up in the roof, long-term storage. The other thing that we've done is remove the front wall in front of the shower, and we did that by using a double leaf door with a double hinge system in it. And the way we do that, the reason we do that is to move that wall, so when you're sitting in the lounge area, it opens it all up so you can actually have a little bit more room to sit. Allows you to have the screen door open, and allows you to, it allows you to have the hidden toilet and shower all in behind that door. So that's been a really big plus, and I hope that works fairly well. I suppose the biggest thing we did on the 7s to do with Iveco was the airbag system. It's got an independent front suspension, which I know is polarizing, but to be honest, it's a really, really robust system. It drives beautifully. It's got a turning circle, probably better than most cars. And it was quite difficult to design and develop an airbag system that would allow for an independent front suspension to work as it works, and for us to be able to use the airbag. But we got it eventually. It took a bit, and we now have a 4-bag airbag system on that truck, all independently operated. And so that allows for a 4-inch lift if you needed to get, you know, a bit of height, or to level at night, or to give you a bit more ride and comfort. It also allows for, you know, if you're going through water and just want a little bit more height going through that, you can pump them up before you go through. So that was probably the biggest, one of the biggest jobs we did on that to get it to the standard that we needed to. That and the springs. Okay, so the other project we started back in 2016, maybe even earlier, was the Unimog, which was built on a 430 platform. Now, there's been a lot of discussion, even to the point when I went to Germany to pick one of them up. I was told by their engineering there that I must be a fool to buy a 400 series rather than a 4,000 or 5,000 series. So for those of you that don't know the difference, the 100, 200, 300, 400 and 500 series is the one with the big screen, the big windscreen. They use them more for utilitarian type jobs like councils, and, you know, they carry heavy loads. They call that the baby, but in actual fact, I think it's the bigger one. And then the 4 and 5,000 are more the military spec one. Now the problem is, when I first started looking at them, is that I realized there was no room on the 4 and 5,000 models. There was just, it was an older cab. The room inside for the occupants was limited, and there was no real estate along the chassis to be able to do anything with it. Not anything real like we do. So we decided that was not what we wanted. We decided the big windscreen, the fact that we could move the steering wheel from left to right in 27 seconds, the ability to put very large tanks, stairs, everything along that chassis, and still have the portal axles, still have the central tire inflation, and that beautiful big window. And a lot of people say, oh, it's the ugly duckling. But to be honest, when you're sitting in that for your 5-6 year tour around the world, that's what you're looking at. That's your vista. That's your window of the world. So the bigger, the better, really. So yeah, we chose the 400, and then there was the reason why we went with the 400 versus the 500. Well, the 500 didn't allow us the suspension we needed, and didn't allow us the flexible chassis that we needed, and it also was a wider track, so it would take longer to put one in a container. So we went with the 400, and we were able to even then choose the right thickness chassis and the right suspension to give us around a 12-ton vehicle. That then led us to what size engine, and you can get a 230, 270 and a 300. So of course we chose the 300 being the biggest. That has been a spectacular vehicle and is so beautiful to drive. It's as comfortable as you'll ever get, and nothing gets in its way. It's people say, oh, it's very high. Well, it's only 3 meters, so it's only that much higher than a Iveco, and it certainly goes anywhere. So that project started back then, and unfortunately through a serious accident we had over in Western Australia, that kind of slowed us down a little bit with that. But Greg, one of our customers who has been with us for a while in discussions as to where to take this, pushed harder and harder, and we were able to come up with a spec that he was happy with. And then since then we've sold 2 more, so there's another, so it'll be 4 in total when we finish. But the project was quite, I suppose, simple in a way, but just bigger. Everything was bigger. We put 20-ton jacks on it, which lifts the vehicle 1.6 meters. We put the six stairs to make easy access. 860 litres worth of fuel on it, and 900 litres of water on this thing. So it wasn't anything challenging like that, but we made bigger molds for the body. And then, of course, the internal layout for that first one we changed it to a forward-facing rear seat to allow for more occupants in the rear. We've gone away from that because obviously customers want what they want, and the customers we've got coming down the line just want the 2 and 3 seat front sideways facing. We built a new headliner, so it's made out of a lightweight fiberglass skin where we then recover it. What that allowed us to do was increase the center part of the headliner, and then be able to put our screens and all our controls up there and remove them from the center console area and give you a clear movement from the cab to the camper. But what we did there is we used plug and play stuff. So basically, all our harnesses are manufactured by a company called in New Zealand. They are spectacular at building the best harnesses. They're fabulous to work with. Nothing's a problem. We upgrade harnesses every 4 versions, every 4 jobs. We upgrade a harness, so it keeps evolving the whole time. And we have, I don't know, probably maybe 30 different variations of harnesses for our different vehicles. So what we did with them is we nominated all the plugs that were in the Mercedes, and they basically made us cabling that just went plug, 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 run it up through the roof and up there, and then move all of their stuff up there. So it's really, it's a no-brainer. It's just too easy. So that's how we do all the wiring for the cab. But we have about, I think each truck has 5 harnesses or 6 harnesses. So the Mog obviously needed its own harness, and they came to the fore with that. So when we move all of those electronics from the center console up into the roof, we also move all the brake system and everything up into the roof. It allows us to then create a space between the 2 front seats, which then makes it easy to go between the cab and the camper. Without that, it would just be, probably just a difficult job, and wouldn't work as well. So that's something that we've been able to do. We've got a really special curtain being built for this new one, which is bulletproof and stab proof, and the reason for that is to section off the cab to the camper to allow us to lock the two apart and keep the occupants safe if they're in the rear of the vehicle, and still have that nice open, wide pass through, crawl through area. So some of the other things we did on this, which were different to the first one, was we were able to put two lifted wheels on the back, and of course our winches are all integrated. You can't see them. The winches sit inside the wheel lifter, and they drop away and then to the ground. So we put two of those on the back, and then we still needed to put a crane on there for their motorbikes and their other stuff. And the fact is that if we need some redundancy, so if a wheel lifter fails or something like that, how do we get the wheel up? So we've been able to incorporate behind one of those wheel lifters a little 500 kilo crane, which operates off a winch and will allow them to pick up whatever they need, or pick up a wheel and lift it up if they have to. So that's been a bit of a task to try to incorporate all of that stuff. So I think at the back of a Mog now has 1, 2, 3, that's 5 winches. I think four winches. So it's it's certainly got some moving parts at the back there. And then we're building a new motorbike lift now, which is basically a tube that allows the bikes to go up and down quite simply, because most of these are now getting a motorbike of some sort on the back, whether it's a Nubco or a petrol bike. We'll put that on the back. Other than that, the Mog's huge tanks were probably, I think, some of the biggest our tank manufacturers have ever built. They are the two well, this is for a vehicle anyway, 450 and 280 litre tanks that are going into them. We've built some new tanks for the Mog, so they're still coming, but just to utilise our space a bit better and give them a bit more onboard water and fuel. So I think that's probably the Mog. So none of this is done without huge commitment and support from our customer base, and we've been extremely lucky. I don't want to single out any one particular customer, especially when it comes to the Iveco project, because there's been plenty. But I will say that without the support of people like J&J, who is taking the first delivery, who basically made a commitment to us, maybe 7 years ago, and said, "Mark, I'm taking the first auto daily when it comes out," and that was after he ordered his first manual. Without people like Rick on the Toyota and Greg on the Unimog, where their faith in us to bring to market or bring to finalisation is really important, because without that we couldn't do it. They support us through thick and thin, and all of our customers, especially the Iveco platform, our customers have been instrumental in lifting the game, in lifting us, continually improving everything we do. So they'll come to us with all sorts of, crazy ideas, we call it, but they've all got their own little bit. And when you hear the story about why they want it, I mean, it does sort of allow you to see it through their eyes and try to then produce what they want. I mean, you can't get everything into these things, and everything's a compromise with an expedition vehicle. But if you can just get a few of those things into what the customer wants, they feel like they've got what they wanted, and we've been able to lift our product to another level. Unfortunately, that just keeps increasing the options, things like pie ovens and other associated things. But definitely, it lifts the game and lifts the bar for us. So thanks to them, and of course, once again, without all of the support, especially the Iveco group, we couldn't do it. So that's been really good for us, and hopefully we'll come out of 2020 better for all these projects that we've drawing to a close and just starting production, which would be really nice. Thanks for watching.